Hi, I hope everybody's doing okay this week. This is the recorded lecture for week 9. So I'm going to start by just reviewing the Relational Database Management System model. And we're going to go through the attribute values. So when we think about the attribute, we're thinking about the model and what eventually becomes a column or a field. So for example, in a customer entity, that becomes a customer table, and attributes become things like customer ID, first name, last name, middle initial, and so on. The values would be the actual data values, like somebody's actual ID, their first name, like Susan or Jonathan, and their last name. The keys, so we've talked before about the primary key and how the primary key uniquely identifies each record in a table, and the foreign keys. Some tables won't have a foreign key because not every table is going to link to another table with a foreign key. And we talked before about referential integrity a little bit when we talk about cardinality and making sure that we have a relationship of a one-to-many or a many-to-many or a one-to-one. We take that one step further with referential integrity, and we talk about things like a parent-child relationship. So for example, can you have an order without a customer? No, that should never happen. It's just like saying, can you ever have money in a bank account, but the bank account is not linked to an owner? Those examples would be a loss of referential integrity. So if somebody needs to delete a value or a record out of a database, you would never want them to delete the parent if there's a child. So if there is a customer that has an order, you don't want to delete the parent. We'll talk a little bit about relational algebra and how that impacts forming statements when you want to use the where statement, as well as mathematical operators. You've had a chance to do unions, joins, and of course relationships, but keep in mind that relationships are specific to a relational database management system. So when we talk about other types of databases like NoSQL, which means not only SQL, those are not based off of relationships between different tables. Indexes, so things like making sure that we have a field that can be used as a way to quickly find a record. Usually the primary key will be an index. We've talked before about business rules, but there are also other rules in databases. Security. We'll do some intermediate level structured query language, talk a little bit more about the open database connection, as well as using different various end user tools to connect to different database platforms, and developing and running SQL to select specific columns using criteria. You've already had a chance to create joins. Keep in mind that you can't use the outer join functionality with the SQL, but you can do a right join and a left join and union those together. So as an example, a patient ID value could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there is a site here for relational algebra that if we copy that and we go out to a web browser and paste that, you can read through here. And these slides are available outside of the video. So if you need more time reading through here, you can get the link from those slides. Operators. So in the W3 SQL tutorial, make sure you take a look at these mathematical operators and you know them. So if I come out here to the SQL cheat sheet and I look for those mathematical operators, right down here under the references section, you can see these operators. I'd like you to go in and try these examples just by coming over and clicking try it. And you can see the symbols for certain mathematical operations. You will most likely use add, subtract, multiply, and divide. You will also use the and, the or. This or symbol is called a pipe delimiter, and it is typically found on your keyboard underneath the backspace key. And you should be very familiar with the comparison operators, such as equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or not equal to. When you're out in the workplace, you may use other types of tools, such as SQL Server developer tools, Toad, which is a tool normally used to access Oracle databases. You're already using MySQL Workbench. If you're working on a Windows machine, you can easily connect to MySQL through Microsoft Office tools like Access and Excel. And if you think back to the beginning of the semester where I asked you to test some things out and make screenshots, you can use these open database connections to actually connect to the databases from Microsoft Power BI and Tableau, which are examples of business intelligence and analytics tools. You can also connect from data science tools like R or Python and statistical tools like SAS or SPSS. Please continue to practice. And once you have feedback, you should have feedback by this point on your first draft. Your second draft, when you turn it in, I will try to get those turned around to you as soon as possible. Again, when I take a look at those, I am not looking at the drafts to find everything that's wrong. Instead, I'm looking to see that you are on the right track. So please do not think that getting a 100% on a draft means there's nothing wrong with it. As part of this assignment, you are to use critical thinking and problem solving in order to test out all of the design changes you make and make sure that it is free from defects. When you go to submit Project 1, please make sure that you submit an entire package. Submit your data model. Your data model should be the physical data model. You do not need to submit the conceptual or the logical model. And you should be submitting screenshots of everything in your database, your properties so that I can see what was selected, as well as some examples of the data. And I will also go in to SQL Workbench and take a look at those as well. Please make sure when you package this together, you're clearly identifying everything that you did. I want to see your process, your reflection, what worked, what didn't work. The more you can tell me about your process and how it went, the more feedback I can give you. And please make sure you see the rubric and the deadline. And if we come back into Canvas for the week of March 16th, Please also make sure that if you have not already sent me a message in Canvas, that you send me a message so I can add you to the project topics, and then we will start talking about the requirements for the project pretty soon. If you have any questions at all, best way to get in touch with me now that we are having online courses is through the inbox right here in Canvas, and I will get back to you. Thank you. Be well.